bonds. Sometimes the need to be hugged is so overwhelming that if no one else is around, we hug ourselves. Eibel has found that the Himba culture is changing, and that includes how much touching is considered appropriate. Opuwa, a trading town, is luring Himba people away from their small pastoral communities. These Himba are on the threshold of a new way of life in a much larger community. They will no longer be on intimate terms with everyone they meet, and many of the touches that once seemed spontaneous will no longer feel right. Eibel's work also throws light on the intriguing origins of the human kiss. In a world without prepared baby food and electric mixers, mothers fed their children chewed food. It's known as kiss feeding.
Kiss feeding occurs in all cultures, so far as we know, and it was originally found in Europe. Mothers at a certain stage of the development of the baby feed their babies, in addition to the milk, with pre-masticated food from mouth to mouth. And this behavior pattern got ritualized in a variety of ways to kissing.
Today, love play frequently involves food, and advertisers can't resist making a meal of it, showing kissing, eating, and the promise of sex all rolled into one. Here, they're advertising ice cream. These photographs invite all of us to be voyeurs into the world of private touches. In public, most people are too shy to do more than hold hands or share a hug. Our primate cousins happily groom one another's hair or skin for hours. In our impersonal society, we've replaced that important bonding ritual with chit-chat, so-called grooming talk, or we offer a friendly pat on the shoulder. In a crowded beach bar, people see the press of bodies as a plus. They come here to be close to others, to enjoy touching and being touched. If you look for them, the world is full of subtle touches that we barely notice with our wide-awake, conscious minds. But they can carry eloquent and powerful messages.
Right, Tom. Just bring the bag in. Put it on the table, darling. That's it.
Touch comforts us. It reminds us of that time when Mother cradled us and we felt safe, adored, and perfectly lovable.
You take those and you put those in the fridge. Okay, and then those are for the fridge as well.
As adults, we still crave those affectionate touches, but partners sometimes lose touch with one another.
We've got a few minutes. Yeah?
In our lives, we find ourselves busy, we find ourselves preoccupied, we find ourselves with lots of demands made of us, demands of looking after family, demands of job, demands of our social activities, but we lose sight of our close relationships. It's very much easier to put those on the back burner than it is all of the other things.
Not much room. Will you see if you can put them all in that drawer for me?
We don't
Okay.
actually spend time communicating through touch. It's
Okay.
lost to us. And what we really do need to do is take time out to begin to restore some of that in our lives.
And put the carrots away for me. Oh, you cut your hand. Let's have a look. Where did you
Surely adults know how to touch and to do what comes naturally. That may well be the case for this couple as they relate to their children.
Every time you go in the fridge.
But what about with each other? The marriage counselling organisation Relate concentrates on a couple's use of touch, their habits and inhibitions, and their sexual ease with one another.
So you have to take her now anyway, I've got to go.
Come on,
All right.
all right, darling. Okay,
Love
come
my
on, come to
sweetheart.
mummy, come on.
You'll be a good boy, Tom.
Tired, aren't
This is
you?
often the barometer of a relationship where the emotional climate may have changed.
Right, I'll see you later after work. Bye-bye then.
Crystal, make it. Bye. Okay.
In order to be able to help you best, I'm really going to have to know a lot about what's been happening for you sexually, so I'm going to ask you quite a lot of questions. And that might be
Counselling can
inconvenient.
reveal explicit details of a couple's sex life.
Oh, that's
So,
all right.
with the help
I mean,
of
up
Relate,
until-
we have reconstructed a typical case history taken from their files.
I thought it was okay. But now I'm aware it wasn't, and
So there was a certain predictability about what was happening. Would you agree?
I just felt that when he touched me, it was because he wanted sex, and that just sort of, just put me right off.
Right, so every physical contact was a signal for sex, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And,
And there wasn't anything really outside of that.
right.
We didn't
So
cuddle
it's-
anymore, or he didn't, kiss me, or,
well,
any of that before.
When did you last have sexual contact?
6 weeks ago, 6.5 months ago.
No, it was more like 2 months, actually.
Mm-hmm. And was that a successful encounter, or was that...
No.
No. I was finding I wasn't getting aroused anymore. It was
Right.
just becoming really routine, and
It
That
sounds as if it
put
got
me-
very
put me
fraught
off.
somehow between you. It was very tense. The whole business of physical contact seems to have got very, very tense. Is that right?
yeah.
As if you anticipate that it won't go right. So you choose not to have any contact at all.
Mm. But it's not like it was, is it?
No, but I mean, I'm not 100% sure what you mean by touch, but sexually it's been good in the past, much better than it is now.
Right. So in the last 4 or 5 months, you've attempted to make love to each other, but it hasn't worked properly. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's really what's brought you through the front door to see me. Right. Okay. What I am first going to require of you is that I'm going to place a ban on sexual intercourse for the moment. That really is the area that's actually continued to be difficult, and we're going to put all of that performance anxiety to one side and get you back into being together in an intimate way which is more comfortable and more relaxed, and get rid of all this tension. Well, we agree that seems to be a sensible way forward. Okay, now over the next week, before you come back and see me next week, what I want you to do is to find 3 separate hours of prime time when you can be together in an intimate way. You're making an investment for the rest of your lives. I think I need to say that to you. And you're going to have to find some quality time when you can be together. And I want 3 separate occasions of an hour during this week.
Right.
All right.
Many people find these sessions awkward. They feel shy and embarrassed. To luxuriate in the other's pleasure, to savour touch as a sweet reward of its own without thinking about sex, time or performance, forces them to communicate in new ways. The first stage is non-sexual touching. At times, they might close their eyes so they can focus their minds just on feeling. For satisfying lovemaking, one needs to feel both relaxed and aroused. Touch can bridge that seeming contradiction. This therapy, known as sensate focusing, heightens all the senses, but it's especially good at teaching couples to be more fluent in the language of touch.
What can happen in an adult relationship is, as the relationship develops, the couple actually begin to just be involved in genital touching, and so it becomes very focused and very narrow. It's as if the rest of the body doesn't exist. And for one or other of them, this may actually begin to feel like a real pressure, like it's not how they want to be, and yet they find themselves unable to ask for what they need. Most couples run a telepathic sexual relationship. They don't actually communicate verbally. They hope that somehow the message will get across, and of course it doesn't.
A couple may devote 3 or 4 sessions to touch alone before they move on to the more sexual part of the program. At this stage, the aim is not to arouse, but to achieve greater intimacy and a genuine expression of love.
Being involved in gentle touching exercises is a very powerful experience, and as a result of that, couples can find themselves returning to lost, unawakened feelings from the past, particularly when they've had very positive experiences of a sexual relationship with their partner in earlier times.
Our hands can become messengers of our emotions. Few have understood this as well as the great French sculptor Rodin. He was a dreamer who dreamt with his hands, and he loved sculpting hands. If there is one work of art that expresses Rodin's sense of touch, the intimacy of space, and the fluency of bodies, it is The Kiss. Enveloped in each other, glued by touch at the hip, hand and shoulder, they seal their closeness with their mouths. Touching in only these few places, they seem to be touching in every cell. For some, the sense of touch is the only way to experience fine sculpture. Visiting the Rodin Museum in Paris has been a lifelong ambition for Gioia Stanchi, who's 73 and has been blind for 13 years.
Of course, at first when touching you feel a bit intrusive, and then it takes you over. You become part of it.
Once Gioia realized that touch was the passport to a world of beauty that had been closed to her, she began visiting galleries again, many of which now treasure her as an expert on touch tours for the blind. But she's convinced that we all need to refresh our sense of touch.
This is the sensation or the sense that I think we don't put enough importance on. We think it's just for utility, you know, feeling things, for their identifying or whether they're hot, cold or material, and we don't realise that nearly all our information from childhood has come from touch, and not just from the fingers, from all parts of the body. It's a completely different type of vision with the fingers than seeing with the eyes. It's more of an insight, and it's also the one we started off with, we were born with, and we carry and develop once we're aware of it all through our lives, and could be the last sensation, last sense we're left with at the end, our last contact, our last touch.
We feel our way through life from birth to death. Touch is what gives us our grasp on life, the feeling of being alive. Best of all, it allows us to rejoice in one another, and perhaps that is the most touching thought of all.